There's a silence in hollowness that feels alive, a kingdom long forgotten. Its echoes linger in the emptiness, a beauty born from decay. At first glance, it might seem small, humble even, but look closer, and you'll find an intricate web of tunnels, mysteries, and stories waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to Hollow Knight. Before Hollow Knight became a beloved masterpiece, it started as a modest dream from two childhood friends, Ari Gibson and William Pellin. Together they formed Team Cherry in 2013 with one clear goal, to create a game that they'd love to play. The pair had limited experience in game development, but their passion for creativity and storytelling set the foundation for what would become Hollow Knight. In 2014, they launched a Kickstarter campaign to fund their project. The concept was simple: a 2D platformer set in a mysterious, interconnected world filled with bugs and secrets. The campaign's original goal was 35,000 Australian dollars, enough to cover the basic development cost. But to their surprise, over 2,000 backers pledged nearly 57,000 Australian dollars, surpassing their expectations and unlocking stretch goals, including new bosses, additional areas, and playable Hornet campaign. This was a pivotal moment. The support from the community gave Team Cherry not just the funding they needed, but also the motivation to aim higher. They were determined to create something truly special, something that honored the trust of their backers, while pushing the limits of what a small team thought they could achieve. The early visions of Hollow Knight were vastly different from the game we know today. The Knight's design was simpler, the environments were less detailed, and the mechanics less polished. But even in these early stages, the essence of Hollow Knight, its haunting beauty and the unique world, was beginning to take shape. One of Team Cherry's biggest strengths was their attention to detail. The hand-drawn frame-by-frame animations gave every movement a sense of fluidity and life. And while the team was small, consisting of just Ari William and composer Christopher Larkin, they made up for it with creativity and determination. With Gibson's handling the art and Pellin focusing on design, the duo created a harmonious balance of visuals and gameplay. Meanwhile, Larkin's score brought the vision to life, infusing the game with its signature emotional depth. After 3 years of development, Hollow Knight was finally released on February 24, 2017 for PC. The launch was quiet. There were no big marketing campaigns or splashy announcements. Instead, word of mouth spread the news. Gamers who stumbled upon this gem began sharing their discoveries, praising its rich world and challenging gameplay. Critics were quick to notice that Hollow Knight wasn't just another indie platformer, it was something extraordinary. While its initial release didn't generate massive sales, Hollow Knight began to build momentum, and as the months went on, it was a classic word-of-mouth success story. Players were captivated by Hollow Knight's beauty and complexity, recommending the game to anyone who would listen. By the end of 2017, Hollow Knight had sold over 500,000 copies, a huge milestone for a small indie team. But Team Cherry didn't stop there. Over the next year, they continued to expand the game, releasing 4 major content updates, all for free. These updates introduced new bosses, areas, and challenges, keeping the community engaged and proving the studio's dedication to the players. In 2018, Hollow Knight reached a broader audience with the release on Nintendo Switch. The portability of the Switch, combined with the game's addictive exploration and challenging gameplay, made it a perfect match. Suddenly, Hollow Knight wasn't just an indie darling. It was mainstream success. By the end of 2018, Hollow Knight sold over 2.8 million copies across all platforms, cementing its place as one of the most successful indie games of the decade. Hollow Knight's development is one of the humble beginnings and extraordinary results. It is a testament of what a small, passionate team can achieve with a clear vision, hard work, and support from a dedicated community. From a modest Kickstarter campaign to a global phenomenon, Team Cherry proved that even the smallest teams can create worlds that feel limitless. But the true magic of Hollow Knight lies within the game itself. Its gameplay, atmosphere, and storytelling have captured the hearts of players around the world. So let's dive into the world of Hollow Knight and explore what makes this game so unforgettable. If Hollow Knight's development is a story of an underdog rising, its gameplay is the reason why so many players stayed. At its heart, Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania, a genre known for its emphasis on exploration, tight platforming, and gradual progression. But Hollow Knight isn't just another Metroidvania, it's a masterpiece of design, balancing challenge, reward, and discovery in few ways games have ever achieved. The first thing players notice when stepping into Hollow Knight is how simple yet precise the gameplay feels. You're armed with a nail, a tool that's equal parts weapon and utility, and a set of basic moves: jump, attack, and heal. That's it. Yet, from the small toolkit, Hollow Knight builds an experience that feels endlessly deep. Combat is straightforward at first, timing your strikes, dodging enemy attacks, but as the game progresses, it introduces layers of complexity. From learning enemy patterns to mastering new abilities like the Mothwing Cloak for dashing or the Monarch Wings for double jumping, every new tool enhances your control over the knight. What's really remarkable is how naturally these abilities fit into the gameplay. Each new power not only opens up previously inaccessible areas, but also transforms how you interact with the world, making the exploration and combat more dynamic. The exploration is where Hollow Knight truly shines. From the moment you step into Hollow Knight, you're given no clear direction, just the promise of a world filled with secrets. There's no hand-holding, no quest markers, but instead the game trusts that you can carve your own path. Each area you uncover feels distinct and alive. Green Path has lush greenery that contrasts sharply with the haunting beauty of the City of Tears or the fiery depths of Crystal Peak. But what ties these areas together is a sense of mystery. Each corner is begging to be explored. Exploration in Hollow Knight is constantly rewarding. There's hidden walls, secret rooms, and cleverly concealed treasures are everywhere, encouraging players to push boundaries and look closer. And while the world can feel overwhelming, it's never disorienting. That thanks in large part to one key feature: the map. The map system in Hollow Knight is deceptively simple. It doesn't show you everything right away. You have to buy maps for each region from Cornifer, the ever so cheerful cartographer. But even then, your map doesn't automatically update. You need to find a bench to sit down and add the areas you've explored. This map mechanic turns exploration into a ritual. Each bench becomes a moment of reflection, a chance for you to regroup, plan your next move, and feel the satisfaction of seeing your progress unfold on the map. But Hollow Knight isn't just about wandering through a beautiful world. It's about overcoming challenges. Hollow Knight is a harsh blade, and its inhabitants are restless. From the smallest bug to the mightiest boss, every enemy demands your attention and respect. This game's difficulty is punishing, but very fair. When you die, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. You learn patterns, refine your timing, and eventually you win. And that win feels so incredible because it feels as if you earned it. The sense of progression isn't limited to combat. The knight's growth is tied to exploration and discovery. Charms, for example, are one of the most important systems in the game. Charms allow players to customize their playstyle, whether you prefer a tanky build that focuses on healing or an aggressive build that boosts your nail damage. The choice is yours. And because charms can only be equipped at benches, each loadout feels intentional, forcing you to adapt your strategy to the challenges ahead. But what makes Hollow Knight truly special is how it uses gameplay to build atmosphere. The silence of a desolate corridor, the faint hum of an unknown enemy nearby, the gradual crescendo of a boss's theme. Every moment feels deliberate. This isn't just a game you play, it's a world you inhabit. Every jump, every strike, every quiet moment reinforces the feeling that you're exploring a place that feels alive, ancient, unknown, lonely, and filled with stories waiting to be uncovered. Hollow Knight isn't just a game, it's an experience. Its gameplay balances simplicity with depth, exploration with challenge, and frustration with reward. It's a game that respects its players, trusting them to find their own way, trusting them to beat the next challenge, and rewarding them for their curiosity. But the gameplay is just one piece of the puzzle. What truly makes Hollow Knight unforgettable is the way its world and story intertwine. Hollow Knight is, above all, a work of art. It's a game where every frame feels like it was handcrafted with care, where every sound and every note draws you deeper in its world. In Hollow Knight, art isn't just for aesthetics, it's for storytelling, it's immersion, and it's the reason players find themselves so lost in its beauty, even as danger lurks around the corner. Hollow Knight's hand-drawn art style sets it apart from most games. Created entirely by Team Cherry's lead artist Ari Gibson, each environment, enemy, and character was meticulously illustrated. But it's not just about how the game looks, it's about how the art evokes emotion. Take the Forgotten Crossroads, a desolate opening area, defined by crumbling ruins and lifeless grays. It immediately sets a tone for isolation and decay, reinforcing the kingdom's forgotten nature. But then Green Path, a stark contrast. It greets the player with its very vivid greens and flowing waters. It's got glowing plants. It's as if though you've entered a completely new world. It's alive and breathing, even as danger lurks beneath each surface. This contrast between areas is intentional. Each region tells its own story through art, from the vibrant, sprawling fungi of the fungal waste to the eerie, cobweb-ridden tunnels of Deep Nest. Every visual element serves a purpose to make Hollowness feel vast, alive, and distinct. What makes Hollow Knight's visuals so compelling is its masterful use of color and lighting. The palette is often muted, with shades of gray, blue, and black that dominate much of the game. This isn't a limitation, it's a deliberate choice. The lack of bright and saturated colors reinforces Hollowness' somber tone, with a strategic burst of light and color like the orange reflection seeping through the walls or the glowing flora of Green Path, highlighting the moments of significance. These visual contrasts tell you something about the world without saying a word. Lighting too plays a massive role in shaping the atmosphere. In the Abyss, for example, where darkness swallows everything, light is sparse, and every flicker reveals something terrifying. In contrast, the Crystal Peak's bright, unrelenting glow gives the area an almost oppressive energy, as though the crystals themselves are alive and watching. One of Hollow Knight's greatest strengths is its environmental storytelling. You don't need exposition to understand Hollowness' history. It's written in its walls, and the ruins, and the world itself. Take the City of Tears, for instance. Once a bustling heart of Hollowness, now reduced to a lonely place where rain never stops falling. The rain itself feels symbiotic, a kingdom eternally mourning its fall, with tears from above soaking its empty streets. Then there's the royal waterways, forgotten tunnels that once kept the kingdom's systems running, but are now overrun with filth and decay. Details like broken pipes, discarded corpses, and grotesque enemies like the Fluke Worm tell a story of a kingdom that's literally rotting from the inside out. These details reward curiosity. If you look closely, you'll be able to find many hidden and subtle nods to Hollowness' past. Every visual clue adds another layer to the game's story, making exploration feel not only rewarding, but meaningful. While Hollowness itself is stunning, its characters are equally unforgettable. Ari Gibson's art shines in the simple yet expressive designs of the bugs you meet. Each character feels iconic and recognizable at a glance. Their designs often reflect their roles in the stories. Hornet, for example, is designed with fluidity and grace. Her movements are precise. Her presence is commanding. Even without words, her design tells you see someone powerful and significant. Enemies too are brought to life with detail and personality. From the smallest crawling bugs to towering bosses, every creature's movements and attacks feel deliberate, blending hand-drawn charm with brutal precision. But art alone can't create an atmosphere. It's a combination of visuals and sound that make Hollowness feel real. Larkin's score is nothing short of extraordinary. You've been hearing it across this entire video, and every note is carefully crafted to complement the environment. The music shifts with the mood of each region. Larkin's score isn't just background music, it's the emotional heartbeat of Hollow Knight. Equally important is the game's use of sound effects, or in some cases, the lack of them. The silence in the abyss, the echoing emptiness of the hollowing cliffs. These moments of quiet are just as impactful as the most dramatic battles. Hollow Knight is a game where art and atmosphere are inseparable. Its hand-drawn visuals, masterful use of color and light, and haunting soundtrack work together to create a world that feels alive, beautiful, and, at times, terrifying. Hollowness isn't just a setting, it's a place that lingers in your mind long after you've left it. At its core, Hollow Knight is a story of silence. It's a tale told not through grand dialogue or dramatic cutscenes, but through subtlety, implication, and discovery. Hollowness whispers its truths, and it's up to the player to listen. Beneath the surface, Hollow Knight explores powerful themes of loss, sacrifice, and the endless struggle against fate. Hollow Knight rejects traditional narrative structures. There are no long expositions, no direct explanation for what's happening. Instead, the game trusts its players to be curious, to explore, and to piece together its stories from fragments scattered across Hollow Nest. Every piece of dialogue, every environment, and every detail hold a thread of a greater narrative. It's a puzzle, one that rewards those who pay attention and revisit the smallest corners of the map. Consider the best. A place that is shrouded in darkness, filled with strange and unsettling visuals. There are no cutscenes explaining its significance, yet its very design tells you everything you need to know. This is a place where vessels were born, a forgotten place of pain, sacrifice, and rejection. The environment itself becomes a storyteller. Beyond its surface, Hollow Knight weaves in themes that resonate on a deeply human level. The first and most obvious theme is loss. Hollowness is a kingdom in ruins, a civilization brought to its knees. Everywhere you go, you see echoes of what once was. There is abandoned cities, empty libraries, and monuments to forgotten heroes. The residents of Hollowness, like Elderbug and the scattered NPCs you meet, reflect on this theme. They cling to the memories of the past, unable to move forward, forever tied to the shadow of a kingdom long gone. Team Cherry uses these quiet details to make Hollowness feel real. It's a place that once thrived but now exists only as a shell of itself. Another central theme is sacrifice. Hollowness' story is defined by the choices its characters made to save the kingdom, choices that often came to immense personal cost. The Pale King, in his desperation to stop the Radiance, sacrificed everything, including his own children. The Vessels, beings like the Knight, were born to contain the infection. They were never meant to live, only to serve. Yet, even the chosen vessel, the Hollow Knight, wasn't perfect. Its failures reflect a larger idea, that some sacrifices, no matter how noble, are not enough. The burden of Hollowness' fate passes to you, the player, to decide what happens next. In a world consumed by despair, Hollow Knight raises the question, can we change our fate? The infection, the Radiance, the Pale King's mistakes, these forces seem unstoppable, like an inevitable end to Hollowness. But the Knight's journey is one of defiance. Despite being created as nothing more than a vessel, the Knight perseveres. In this way, the game explores the power of choice, agency, and the refusal to be denied. The endings reinforce this theme. Do you accept the cycle of decay and failure, or do you break free from it, embracing the unknown? Hollow Knight doesn't offer any easy answers. It leaves a choice to your hands. Perhaps the most powerful thing about Hollow Knight's storytelling is its silence. The Knight is voiceless, the world speaks in whispers, and yet the emotional weight is undeniable. It's in the music, the visuals, and the spaces between the moments of action. In its restraint, Hollow Knight tells a story that resonates far beyond its runtime. It's a game about loss, sacrifice, and the power of perseverance. It's a reminder that even in a broken world, hope can be found in the smallest of acts. And that's what makes Hollow Knight timeless. It's not just a game. It's a story about what it means to endure, to rise again, and to choose your own path, no matter how dark the road may seem. Hollow Knight isn't just a game, it's a phenomenon. A project born from a small indie studio in Australia has grown into one of the most celebrated video games of all time. Its influence has rippled across the gaming industry, from indie titles to mainstream blockbusters. The Metroidvania genre has always been defined by exploration, upgrades, and interconnected worlds. But Hollow Knight took this formula and elevated it to new heights. Its sprawling, seamless world, clever level design, and challenging combat raised the bar for what a Metroidvania could be. Team Cherry didn't just borrow from the genre's legacy, they expanded on it. Hollow Knight created a world that felt alive and whole, where exploration was rewarded with discovery, and every new area felt purposeful and interconnected. It wasn't just about finding upgrades, it was about uncovering a story hidden within the environment itself. Beyond its success as a game, Hollow Knight has fostered one of the most passionate and creative fan communities in modern gaming. Players didn't just finish the game, they immersed themselves in its world, creating fan art, cosplay, and theories that expanded on the lore and mysteries of Hollowness. I mean, look at me, I've made this whole video on this. The game's moddable structure has kept it alive long after its initial release. Players have added their own challenges, stories, and tweaks, ensuring that Hollow Knight remains fresh for new and returning players alike. And then of course, there's the competitive scene, speedrunners, and everyone in between. People who do challenge runs and attempt boss fights with restrictions, completionists who obsess over every tiny secret. Hollow Knight's depth and flexibility made it a perfect canvas for creativity and competition. Hollow Knight's impact on the gaming industry is undeniable. Its success inspired countless developers to embrace the Metroidvania genre, and its art, music, and atmosphere became a benchmark for quality. Games like Ori and The Will of the Wisp and Blasphemous clearly reflect on Hollow Knight's influence, blending stunning visuals with challenging gameplay and immersive worlds. But perhaps nothing speaks to Hollow Knight's legacy as the anticipation for Silksong. The game was announced in 2019 as a sequel to Hollow Knight, starring Hornet. Silksong quickly became one of the most highly anticipated games of the decade. Players around the world are still eagerly waiting for this game to come out, hungry for the return of Team Cherry's world. Few games maintain this level of excitement years after its release, and it's a testament to the original game's impact. In the end, Hollow Knight's legacy isn't just its success or its influence. It's in the way it continues to inspire us to explore, to create, and to believe in the extraordinary potential of video games. Hollow Knight may be a fallen kingdom, but Hollow Knight stands tall as one of gaming's greatest achievements. This has been Vision. The script took a while, and wow, I never thought I'd become this passionate about the game, but here I am now. I want to thank everyone for watching, and if you liked the video, then please give it a like and maybe subscribe. This video took a lot of dedication and, time, a lot of writing, and a big script, bigger than what I thought really originally. I didn't really expect to make this long of a video or really make this detailed of one, so I appreciate everyone for watching and, sticking around. That's all. See you next time.